It looks familiar. That's the trick. Familiar is disarming. But every rivet is a riddle, every window a whisper, every mile of hidden wiring a promise. If the ground ever goes dark, the sky will not. Brake release. The aircraft rolls, then surges, the runway lights strobing beneath. A heartbeat. 2. Liftoff. You think it's a plane. It's not. It's a contingency plan, a moving treaty, a flying oath that the chain of command will not break. When the president steps on board, thousands of people, pilots, stewards, technicians, analysts, agents, become one organism, tasked with a single job: endure. Inside, the temperature never wavers. The coffee never runs out. The secrets never leak. A doctor checks instruments in a compact medical bay that could, in a crisis, save the life that must be saved. A chef seals meals that were watched from farm to fork. A comms officer runs a fingertip across a panel of switches, the nerve endings of a nation, knowing that any one call might change history or preserve it. You won't see the armor. That's the point. But it's there, a skin within the skin, a lattice of protection threaded through the airframe, windows that shrug at bullets and turn radiation into a passing rumor, cables braided like arteries, hard-shelled against the invisible blast of an electromagnetic pulse. If the worst day arrives, they've already rehearsed it. This aircraft doesn't merely fly, it persists. Soft chime. The cabin hushes in a hush already disciplined to silence. There's a room where doors close softly and locks whisper into place. Maps glow, satellites hum. On one wall, a screen waits for the world to come to it. This is where if becomes when, where a pen dragging across paper can reroute aircraft carriers or hold back a storm of steel. The president speaks here. The world listens from far below, not seeing the quiet detail that makes the speech possible. Redundant systems stacked like dominoes, but all of them designed never to fall. Threats don't always announce themselves with noise. Sometimes they arrive as heat-seeking dots on a radar scope, as a signal slithering across a spectrum where eyes can't go. The plane doesn't flinch. Senses feel the prickle before danger has a shape. Countermeasures wake with the reflexes of a nerve, and a missile that thought it recognized a target finds itself chasing a phantom that isn't there. Somewhere in the belly of the machine, probabilities recalc, frequencies slide, and a hunted thing becomes a ghost. You imagine the cockpit, flight jackets, checklists, the glow of instruments. You're right, but not all the way. The pilots of the Presidential Airlift Group are trained for a special kind of composure. The takeoff that must happen now, the climb that can't be slow, the turn that shaves seconds off uncertainty. They practice evasive maneuvers they hope to never use. They drill for refueling in rain, in night, in turbulence, because there might be a day when the ground is a place you dare not go. Cut to the shadow of a tanker drifting across moonlight. Two aircraft hold a fragile geometry at altitude, steel to steel, boom to receptacle, the way a surgeon finds a vein in the dark. Fuel flows, a river in the sky, and with it comes time, the most precious cargo. Minutes to think, hours to decide, days, if necessary, for the government to keep breathing without touching the earth. No one aboard says forever. They say, as long as it takes. There's a reason the paint never chips, the carpet never frays, the protocols never get casual. The plane is both stage and sanctuary. At a foreign airport, it becomes a flag that landed. At home, it is the line between panic and order. It's where a president can be a father for a minute, then a commander again. Where a letter is signed beside a window that stares into forever. Where a condolence call becomes a treaty in the next breath. The choreography is flawless because it has to be, because a pause is a luxury that crises do not afford. Security is a conversation, and this aircraft speaks in many dialects. The Secret Service measures steps and sight lines like mathematicians. Maintenance crews move with rituals older than superstition. Every panel opened with reverence, every tool logged, every screw accounted for before the door closes. Comms teams layer encryption upon encryption, braiding signal paths so tightly that even silence can be heard if it shouldn't be there. Threat models evolve. So does the airplane. It's a ship that gets stronger while it sails. Flash of memory, another September, another sky. On a day when smoke rose where it never should, this aircraft became a moving citadel, the blue and white silhouette carving lines between undisclosed places, while phones and screens stitched the fractured map of a stunned nation. Orders traveled here, then outward, like a heartbeat regaining rhythm. That day left a scar you can't polish away. It also left a lesson etched into every checklist and circuit. Never let the center go dark. There are decoys sometimes, and you're not meant to know which is which. There are routes that look like patterns until the pattern changes, suddenly and decisively. There are times when the call sign itself dances, trading masks mid-flight. Illusion and precision, hand in hand, make pursuit expensive and certainty impossible. In this game, time is the only scoreboard that matters, and Air Force One keeps buying it. Walk the aisle and you'll pass small scenes that don't make the news. A junior staffer rehearsing lines for a briefing, palms damp, until the words finally belong to their breath. A steward securing a latch with a practiced click that sounds exactly right. A comms tech tracing a cable run with eyes closed, seeing with memory because the lights might fail someday and their hands will have to know the way. None of it is dramatic until the day it is. The exterior grace, the way the livery pulls the nose upward like a smile, hides a labyrinth. Vents that are more than vents. Antennas that can hear beyond horizons. Panels that lead to panels that lead to a logic bay where a single diode is as important as a speech. The aircraft does not brag, but it remembers. It remembers every upgrade, every patch, every lesson wrung from simulations and near misses you'll never read about. Its quiet pride is that you don't have to know. Sometimes the camera catches the president at the top of the stairs, one hand on the rail, the other raised to the world. It lasts a second. Behind that second is a swarm, airspace cleared, runways locked, routes encrypted, contingencies nested inside contingencies like Russian dolls. If the gesture looks effortless, it's because effort has been paid in advance by people whose names aren't on any podium. Another chime. Another door sighs shut. They watch weather like adversaries. They map storms not only for turbulence but for radio scatter. If the atmosphere turns to soup, which band will carry a whisper cleanly? Satellite constellations are courted, not assumed. The plane romances space with a bouquet of frequencies. If one bird dies, another sings. If a satellite sulks behind a solar tantrum, a high-frequency wave snaps into service and rides the ionosphere like a silver-threaded kite. If the unthinkable happens, if a city's lights blink out, or a siren song of false signals tries to lure the machine toward a trap, the aircraft becomes smaller, tighter, more intense. The lights dim, the redundancy brightens. Crews speak in shortened sentences that carry entire textbooks in a handful of syllables. The president listens, decides, speaks. The plane does not panic. It metabolizes threat. There's a myth that the most secure thing is the most secret thing. The truth is stranger. The most secure thing is often the most seen. Air Force One lands in daylight, on television, under a forest of lenses. Its strength is not that no one can find it. Its strength is that finding it doesn't help. The outer show is deliberate, magnificent, and slightly misleading. The work happens underneath, in layers of invisibility so carefully woven that they look like calm. You might wonder about the next version, the whisper of a new airframe with a longer reach and a leaner hunger. Think of it not as a replacement, but as a vow renewed. Technology ages, promises cannot. What evolves is the way the vow is kept. Tighter emissions, smarter defenses, a cockpit that thinks faster than it blinks, a cabin that becomes a situation room before the seatbelt sign clicks off. Somewhere in a hangar with the lights low, a blueprint learns how to protect a heartbeat without missing its own. Dawn through the oval windows now, the sky turning the color of possibility. On board, the routine is holy. A pilot runs a finger down a checklist. An agent scans a crowd and becomes a wall. A steward sets a glass down on a coaster and aligns the seal so it faces forward, because details accrete into destiny. The aircraft banks, and with it the world below tilts, cities like circuits, rivers like cables, mountains like code. There is a strange comfort in watching the planet from a place where plans are made to keep it whole. When wheels kiss runway, it's almost gentle. The drama breathes out. Cameras gather at the foot of the stairs, flags poised. Somewhere in the fuselage, a panel cools, a fan spins down, a green light winks to black. For a moment, the airplane is just a beautiful machine in the sun. It never is. Even at rest, it is listening, counting, learning. The next departure is already coiling itself in the quiet. Fuel tallies, route checks, security briefs, 1,000 small certainties knitting together into one large one. Engines will turn, doors will seal. A staircase will retract with a sigh that sounds, if you listen closely, like resolve. Here is the secret, the only one that matters. Air Force One is not secure because it is invulnerable. It is secure because it is relentless, because it never stops imagining the next threat, rehearsing the next contingency, layering the next cleverness over the last. Because ordinary people on board do extraordinary things with casual excellence, day after day, mile after mile. The fortress is steel and signal, yes, but it is also discipline. The cabin lights dim, the city recedes, the sky accepts its sovereign back again. If the ground ever goes dark, look up. What you'll see is not just an airplane. You'll see continuity, humming at altitude. You'll see a nation's promise, pressurized and precise, carving its quiet line across the night. And you'll know, somewhere above the weather wrapped in armor and intention, the center holds.